Today is Tuesday, July 26, 2022, and it is 4 o'clock. And as the Secretary of the Housing Commission, I am calling the annual meeting together. And we'll take now roll call. Dale Priester.
I'm here.
Ginny Pelton.
I am here.
James Bond.
Here.
Karen Goodman.
Here.
Okay, and Kelly Tomaseski is not here presently. All right. The business before us for the annual meeting is first, the nominations for the election of commission president. As secretary, I will solicit for nominations for the president of the Board of Commissioners. Nominations are limited to members of the City of Manistee Housing Commission nominating one another to serve as president. A commissioner may also nominate themselves. Upon closing of nominations, Executive Director Clinton McKinnon-Copus will conduct a vote to determine the president of the Board of Commissioners. Election shall occur by roll call vote. The duties and responsibilities of the president. The president shall preside at all meetings of the commission. At such meetings, the president shall submit such recommendations and information as he or she considers appropriate concerning the business affairs and policies of the commission, except as otherwise authorized by resolution of the commission. The president, with commission authorization, shall sign all contracts, deeds, and other instruments made by the commission. So, I will take nominations for the office of president.
I nominate Dale Priester. Continue.
Dale Priester. Okay. Nominations. No additional? All right. I will close nominations for the president, and we will take I printed out the wrong form here. I need to take a roll call vote. Let's see here. Let me take a moment here. James. Karen. Okay. Karen Goodman.
Yes.
James Bond.
Yes.
Ginny Pelton.
Yes.
And Dale Priester.
In standing with my long-term policy, I will abstain.
Abstain. Okay.
I got caught on that once at city council. They said I couldn't do it.
All right.
Lost the vote.
I will now turn the meeting leadership over to our newly elected president, Dale Priester, to conduct nominations for the election of commission vice president. The elected commission vice president, oh, I just said that, excuse me. Nominations are limited to the City of Manistee Housing Commission nominating another commissioner to serve as vice president. A commissioner may also nominate themselves. And I have a typo here. Election shall occur by roll call vote. Duties of the vice president. The vice president shall perform the duties of the president in the absence or incapacity of the president. In the case of the resignation, removal, or death of the president, the vice president shall perform the duties of the president until such time as a commission shall select a new president. Okay, let's see here. VP. Nominations, please.
I nominate Karen Goodman.
Okay. Any other nominations?
I self-nominate.
Okay.
Did you nominate yourself?
I'm sorry?
Did you nominate yourself?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And any other nominations? Okay. Let's see here. This is not a yes or a no one. This is going to be Dale, Ginny, James, Karen. I will call your name and then ask you just to state either James or Karen, and then I'll write down next to your name what your vote was, okay? All right.
Can I ask questions before we
Sure.
vote?
Yeah.
You abstained on your own nomination. You abstained on your own nomination. You said that was important because there was an issue with city council?
No.
Oh.
It's just a long-standing precedent of mine that I do not vote for myself,
Okay.
if at all possible.
All right,
I also don't vote on things that I don't like.
okay, all
Or-
right. I
Yeah,
wasn't
there's
sure.
no requirement in our bylaws that the nominated person abstain for voting from themselves. That's,
Okay.
when I was chair of Brownfield for the city, I would do the same thing when the annual nominations came up, just because I just feel that way. So, but, are there other questions, Karen?
Nope, that's it, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Okay. Jim?
I now vote for Jim.
Okay. Karen?
I'll vote for Karen Goodman.
Okay. Ginny?
Vote for Karen.
Dale?
James Bond.
Okay. We have a problem, because we don't have 5 here. We have a tie. I really would like to get this annual meeting stuff behind us. But I have no vote. So I do not see a way of breaking the tie. Any suggestions from the commissioners?
Can't table it until Kelly gets here? Or is she coming? Did you get a text back from her?
I have not heard from Kelly yet. Yeah. My assumption is something's blowing up at the hospital. So, we could move on and then come back, but once we close the annual meeting, then we will have to move it to the next month's meeting. So,
In the meantime,
August,
you
right?
can still be president though, right?
yes, that's fine, because that was all voted on.
Okay.
It's just, I have a tie, and I can't,
It's fine.
I have no way of breaking it right now, so. All right. Nominations for an election of commission treasurer. And after I read this, I have something to say. Jim?
I nominate Kelly Tomaszewski.
Oh, okay. Let me read this into the record, though.
Okay.
We will solicit, the elected president will solicit nominations for treasurer of the Board of Commissioners. Nominations are limited to members of the City of Manistee Housing Commission nominating another commissioner to serve as a treasurer. A commissioner may also nominate themselves. Upon closing of nominations, Executive Director Clinton McKibbin-Copus will conduct a vote to determine the treasurer of the board. Election shall occur by roll call vote. Duties and responsibilities of the treasurer. The treasurer of the commission shall hold throughout his or her appointment a Michigan Certificate of Public Accountant license. In the event that there is no certified public accountant to serve as treasurer, the commission shall appoint as treasurer someone with significant financial or banking experience. The treasurer shall be the chair of the Audit and Finance Committee. The treasurer will have oversight of all financial and accounting systems of the commission and shall report to the commission on such financial and accounting matters as are necessary and appropriate. The treasurer is the first commissioner contacted as the commissioner signer of all City of Manistee Housing Commission checks. The financial policies of the City of Manistee Housing Commission require each check to have 2 signatures to be valid, 1 staff member and 1 commissioner. The estimated weekly time commitment is 1 to 2 hours per week. So, Mr. President, you can call for nominations. And Jim, I think you had your hand up a minute ago.
I nominate Kelly Tomaszewski.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Jenny Pelton.
Okay. I had conversations last week with Kelly because of the significance of the kind of financial roles that are required of this position. And she had informed me that she was seriously leaning towards saying yes if she was nominated, and agreeing to that. It is a significant position that requires the financial understandings of someone of a CPA level or someone of Kelly's level of financial understanding at the hospital. However, it's the commissioner's decisions as we go to vote. But I wanted you to know that Kelly would be aware. I mean, she could have nominated herself if she had made it today, but she knew that she was being asked. I asked her after speaking with our general counsel because of the requirements of the bylaws, and that trying to find someone who met those qualifications. So
I guess I would ask if Kelly has the ability with the changes that are going on. I mean, I'm not sure how often she's gonna attend or.
she stated to me that was a concern of hers, but she believes because of the accounting services that we are required to have and that we have that perform all accounting duties, and that she's receiving reports, from our auditor and from our accounting services, and not having to do the manual stuff.
I get that, but
So-
it's like the time frames. I mean, I'm a multi-million-dollar agency. I understand accounting,
Yeah.
but it takes some time to be able to review the reports, be
Yep.
involved. You're also going to be called for signatures, which I know how that is with the DDA. Also, too, you have to be able to, have the time to be able to do the finance reports with you, review them. I take it.
It's reviewing it. We don't do our own financial reports. It's done by a third party.
They're reviewed. She would sit down with isn't there a finance committee? I thought I read that.
There is a finance committee, and I gotta find that motion on that. But we review them. Usually it's done by telephone, phone call with any questions that come up as to what was this about, what is this, or if there are issues that need to be made aware to the finance treasurer, then I contact the treasurer ahead of time.
So the treasurer is not in the meetings. These meetings happen.
They happen by email and by phone call. And they receive the treasurer's report, they receive the financial accounting documents as soon as I receive them. As I've stated in my write-up to you all, we won't have any for many months now because of the delay caused by the creating of CTHV Limited Dividend Housing Association and the issues related to splitting part of the previous Housing Commission private and remaining part public. So our public Housing Commission accountant can't do anything until that is resolved, and neither can our auditor. Our auditor meets by phone with the president and the treasurer when conducting field work, Trying to think what else, happens. We had some issues with a loan previously that was related to our energy performance contract that Doug had to get involved with as we were threatening legal action against the financial institution. Think of anything else that I'm...
How often does the treasurer have to come in and sign checks?
Well, we want to work on consolidating because now we only have a very limited amount of checks now because our properties are down to the scattered sites only. And it used to be like once a week. Weren't we doing like once a week or once every other week?
I feel like when I
just started, it was several times a month. Now it's maybe 2 to 3 times a month.
Right. And we can consolidate those down further.
But for example, what would you be writing a check for, to be signed?
Well, right now, DTE and Consumers Power and water utilities are in the name of the City of Manistee Housing Commission. However, the bulk of, and so we pay that, and then we get reimbursed from CTHV. We are working on getting the accounts for those two buildings in their own names, and then just have the housing, the scattered site housing. Let's see, help me, Cindy. What are some of the other checks at the credit card? Resident stipend. We have a person who cleans and maintains the laundry room facility up on the Reeds Park area, and public housing regulations allow for that person to get a stipend, which does not count towards their rent or any other entitlement program. And so they have to sign a check related to that. See, Dale signed a bunch of checks. What other checks are?
I was going to say, I have some for him to sign.
Yeah, I just
Union dues.
union dues. There.
I guess I would just say that, also too, a nomination can be made, but if that nominee feels like they want to decline that, I think that's also an option in the discussion if it's.
I would say that if Kelly wants this and can handle it, I'm willing to give up my nomination. Because Kelly has the further experience in it. And if Kelly can, with her new duties, feels comfortable with taking this on.
If Kelly isn't, okay, then would you be comfortable then at the August meeting of us coming back up and redoing the nomination then, if Kelly
Sure.
isn't able? Because we need to have, someone appointed with that. There was a failure all around that put us in this position of not having someone of the level required by the bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying our best to do around this. And so, we could vote her in. I then would need to confirm with her and tell her, hey, Kelly, you were voted in. Are you comfortable with that? And then get an answer from her. And then if not, a month from now, then we can just redo it. Dale is still a signature on the checking account, and I don't want to change any signature power until Dale would continue as president, but he's number 2 on the list from.
I can withdraw my nomination for Jenny.
Oh, we're going to do, okay, so let's see here. So I got to make this for my notes here that Karen.
Do we have the ability to add more commissioners?
No.
So we don't have a lack of quorum or?
Mm-mm. No, it's set by state law and federal law states there's 5 commissioners. One must be a resident commissioner and stuff. So, it's a different kind of body. Some of the other commissions and committees, probably for the county, but I know for the city, you can add members and track numbers and so on. But this one has other regulatory matters that set it. Well, it's sort of like for.
Our mental health board is
Yeah.
very restricted.
Yeah. So.
What we have here, I think, is an anomaly. I know that we did not have a quorum last meeting, but I don't remember the last time that we failed to have a quorum for a regular meeting.
Yeah, we usually have a quorum, for a regular meeting.
Yeah, so this is something of an anomaly.
Yeah, it's been weird that we didn't have one last month, I'm not sure what caused all that, but Jenny was here. I think Jim was here too, maybe.
But I wasn't a commissioner.
You weren't on, so you couldn't be. So it's only Jenny who was here for us, yes. Okay, so I still need then to go through the process of the roll call vote on Kelly, pending her approval of accepting the nomination. So let me make my notes here. Dale, Jenny, James. Okay. Dale.
Yes.
Okay. Jenny,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
and Karen.
Yes.
Okay. So we have everyone elected. Yay. This has been the most interesting annual meeting this year. Number 6 is commission presidential appointment. And there are, let me just read through this for the record. We have the Audit and Finance Committee. The chair by bylaws is the commission treasurer. We also then have the commission general counsel and the commission president. Duties and responsibilities of the Audit Committee. The president of the commission shall appoint a 3-member Audit and Finance Committee. The chair of the Audit Committee shall be the commission treasurer. At least one other member of the Audit Committee shall be a commission member, trained, educated, and experienced in financial affairs. One member of the Audit Committee may be an outside professional service provider, such as the general counsel of the commission or a retained consultant. The Personnel Committee is the newly elected vice president. Kelly, and this is a carryover from years before too, Kelly Tomaszewski, and the commission general counsel. The duties and responsibilities of the Personnel Committee. The president of the commission shall appoint a 3-member Personnel Committee. At least 2 members of the Personnel Committee shall be Housing Commission members, at least one of whom is educated, trained, and experienced in human resource matters, and who will serve as chair. One member may be an outside professional service provider, such as the commission's general counsel. So, Mr. President, do you want to make any changes to the slate, or do you want to appoint as there?
Again, can I ask, why is there a carryover for Kelly again in personnel?
Kelly was there because for years she's been the only one who has human resources background, and has union, well, she was the second person. We have a union, and she and Doug both have had experiences negotiating with union contracts, and so they were on for that. General counsel was to be in support of when we had union contract issues or negotiation issues, and we have a contract.
Open that up, you just assign her, even with new commissioners?
Well, that's why I said to Dale, does he want to make it's a presidential, by bylaws, it's a presidential appointment. Okay, and so I wanted to find out if he wanted to make any changes to the presidential appointment.
No.
No?
Karen has lots of human resources experience. It's too bad Kelly's not here
Yeah.
to speak because of all of her new obligations.
On an aside, Kelly and Karen were very instrumental in helping me write and implement things during the COVID period to ensure continuity of services for our residents. So there are times that, I have to lean heavily on different experiences that our commissioners, have. And, Kelly brought the hospital environment, and you brought more of the people environment to help me figure things out. So that was very, helpful for me. Kelly has been involved in the union contract negotiations with our union. And if I haven't already said so, we have a contract negotiation coming up this spring with our union. So I I don't know what else to say. It's by presidential appointment, you know.
I hear that, it's just confusing that you have slates of people in those locations before you have a discussion on it. So to me, if this is a new slate, it would all be open, and then
But-
it's just a different way of doing it in the
Yeah.
board, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I am the director of personnel,
Yeah.
human resources, so, yeah, I do have the experience, and I've negotiated with at
Okay.
least 5 local unions. So it's a weird way of doing it, just.
I'm in the position of just having to follow the bylaws.
Yep.
Okay, so, I did consult, with people ahead of time to see if they'd be willing, not knowing who the president would be, and put it in there, figuring that, you know, the president can change after I read it into the record. And so, that's what I had done here.
We have to vote?
No, it's an appointment. So,
All right.
yeah. All right. Annual meeting resolution 2022-01, establishment of our regular meetings. And that should be 2 items back. I left the July listed as the current meeting, but otherwise none of them were changed. Since there are times afforded by the bylaws where we cancel a meeting or reschedule a meeting, I took the liberty to put in times that we need to meet for sure, and in which I need us to have a quorum. And so I want to call those out. The September 27th meeting is required because we have to set what's called the flat rent schedule, and the passbook savings rate have to be set in that month. November 15th, and it's moved up from the normal date around the holidays to accommodate the holidays. Cindy and I present the fiscal year 2023 public housing budget to the commissioners. The public housing budget is written by Cindy and I as staff and reviewed and inputted by our accountant, and then we bring it here for the commissioners to discuss. And then it's voted on the next meeting, December 13th. I need to have a quorum because that is when the public housing budget is voted on. And I did not star, but after this year I should have starred. Tuesday, June 27th, 2023 is our annual meeting. And I need a quorum on those dates. So please put all of the dates in your calendar and star the ones where we have to make decisions. So I said all that before it was brought to a motion. So someone move resolution 2022-01?
I so move.
Okay. All right. Any questions, discussions, or anything I can answer?
All meetings have to be at 4 o'clock, right?
When I first came here, they were at 2 o'clock, I think. No, 3 o'clock. And then it got moved back to 3 o'clock to accommodate some folks' schedules. Now it's memorialized in our bylaw, so it requires a bylaw change to change the time and or date of the meeting. So that's sort of a long yes and no answer to that.
If this group wants to move it back or move it later, we would ask for a bylaw change.
Right, and George and I are reviewing the bylaws this year. We just haven't gotten to it yet. But because there's been significant changes in the portfolio of the Housing Commission, we believe it's important to update the bylaws to reflect that. So I will bring that to his attention, and I'm not sure what his opinion will be of, can we just go by the Open Meetings Act and just, make this statement of when our meetings is going to be and the time annually, and that be it. And instead of having it in the bylaws, 4 o'clock.
You just have to post. That's
Yeah,
all.
right. No, but, you know, I don't know why that got put into the bylaws, you know, on that. So if George is okay with us removing that, that would free us up to adjust them, so.
Just, I mean, an FYI, on the November 15th meeting, which you highlighted, that's important, both Kelly and I will be in the Manistee Hospital Foundation meeting.
Oh, my
at
goodness,
the
okay.
Time, so that's a major conflict there.
Right. Any of the remaining commissioners know of any major conflict coming up on that
Well,
day?
if people wouldn't be opposed to moving this back, I'm on a finance committee that starts at 5 o'clock usually, so I make it work, but down the road, if people wanted to move this back, I'd be fine with that too.
Okay. I'll
It's happened now.
I'll make a note to talk with George to see how big of a deal it would be if we made some changes on that, because on some of those dates, it's just really important for me, because I have to have our budget submitted to HUD on December 31. So I've got to follow that time frame. So I will check with George. Okay, all right. So President, we need to take a vote for Resolution 2022-01, Annual Meeting Resolution. You want to, ready for the vote? Okay. This one can be an all those in favor. It doesn't need to be so you can call all those in favor. Dale,
Yes.
will you call the vote?
Yes, I would like you to call the roll. Sorry, I thought we were still.
Yeah.
Yes.
Call for vote, all in favor.
I think he's confused. We don't have to do a roll call on this one, Dale.
We have to do a roll call.
You
according
can
to
just call
this?
for
We
all in
skipped
favor
number
and,
one, okay.
yeah. So call, all in favor?
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Okay. I see where that can be confusing, where we just had 3 votes with having to do roll call. Okay, one last thing we have to do now is officially adjourn this meeting and then call for the opening of the July regular meeting. So we need a motion and a second, then the approval, and I can mark the time.
Make the motion that we adjourn this.
Support?
Okay, Jim?
Any discussion?
Right.
None? In favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
33, okay. Right. Okay. Dale, would you call together the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners for July?
Would you please take the attendance, sir?
Yes. Dale Priester,
I'm here.
Denny Pelton,
Here.
Jim Bond,
Here?
Karen Goodman,
Here.
and we know, and Kelly Tomaszewski is absent.
Any amendments?
No amendments.
No amendments.
Okay.
Public comment on agenda-related items. That's you, young lady. Any comments? None. The consent agenda, of course, includes the approval of minutes, the financial reports, the domestic violence grant program, any security deposits record. Not available at this time. Because that's in the hands of our accountant.
That's due to the need to split the properties and the assets and,
And the resolutions are part of the consent agenda also.
and we have one listed there.
Yes, it's right off the doubtful accounts.
Yes.
Are we through with non-rad ones?
Actually, I
We
thought
still
we,
have some
I thought
space.
we were, and then Cindy brought to my attention that, I'll have you guys put it on the floor with a motion and second, then I'll tell you the ones that are on there and why it occurred that way, so.
I'll move.
Well, so in the consent agenda, when do I get to ask a question?
Oh, you know what? Since there was a question raised about that, need you guys to, no, we already have I'm trying to think of Robert's rules. Can we, just for simplicity, have someone remove this from the consent agenda?
Remove.
Any commissioner?
And deal with it separately?
Yes, at the
I'll
record.
move.
Okay, all right. So that is off the consent agenda. So there's no items to vote on for the consent agenda, Dale.
So can I ask a question about the, so
Yeah, well, let's
just,
get down to new business. We gotta skip old business and then get to new business. Okay.
okay. So we're going back to that.
Yeah, we're going, no, yeah, we are.
We're going back to,
Doubtful
Number
accounts.
four. We're going back
Doubtful
to
accounts will
number
go to.
We're gonna go
new
back
business.
there.
okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, you always have a chance to have it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I think we're at new business, so, you have a question.
Oh, okay. So why do we not have any financial reports to review, just to be clear on that? It's because of the changeover and the accountants haven't got you what you need yet?
Yes, we presented a couple months ago now, the January public housing statement. That was the very last month that financially all of the properties that used to be public housing were accounted for. So we closed December 31, 2021, and then we ran 1 month. On February 1, 2022, our Housing Assistant Payment Contract, HAP contract, began. That contract then took, now, all of the residents out of, we had all the properties were out of, by contract, out of public housing, Central Terrace and Harborview. Now the residents were taken out of public housing and put into multifamily project-based rental assistance. By law, everyone who had a credit to their account under public housing had to be refunded as we went into project-based rental assistance. Everyone who had a debt had to be written off because federal law does not permit collection of that debt as part of the contract. So we had a large write-off at that point, which we did, I think, in March, if I remember correctly. Why we don't have the financial statements is we have been having trouble with the new software that we're using to account for the tax credit and the project-based rental assistance for Century Terrace and Harborview, and to get things entered in properly. At first, it appeared our accountant that did public housing would be able to do that. He got into the 800-page closing document and determined he wasn't sure of where and how to split the assets properly. So CTHV, Limited Dividend Housing Association, LLC, hired BDO Accounting, and that international firm that does public governmental accounting and private stuff. They are now in the process of segregating the books between public housing and the tax credit PBRA property. Once those are separated and we have the January or the February 1 starting balance for public housing, Darren Veith, the accountant for public housing, can generate February through whatever month we get that at. the owners of CTHV Limited Dividend will then have their documents of what is going on financially then with that property. I just received notice today that entries were made through May.
Yes.
Through May. So that's good news. The last couple of weeks, they couldn't make entries because there was problems with the software company, Yardi. And I think we've got that part straightened out. So they're making progress from nothing entered last week to everything entered through May. They need to act quickly, and they are doing that because our investor wants financial statements.
Well, I would bet.
Yeah.
So, and that's just for the 2 properties, and then you have a separate financial reports for the scattered housing.
Right.
Correct?
And the only financial reports that come here are for the scattered housing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's under the same problem?
No,
With
the
software?
problem, yeah. The problem that is under is that public housing cannot be accounted for until 219 units of public housing are removed out of the accounts, which include assets, which include the splitting up of residual capital funds, the splitting up of the reserve accounts, and all those items. And they all have to be split apart according to the terms of the closing. And just so you all know, the closing documents were legally approved by HUD. They had to be, run through HUD's teams to come up with it and legally stamped. And then once they stamped it as signable, we had 10 days to do the closing. So, they have to be sure that everything matches what was approved by HUD. Now, this year, we're under what's called this is more than you asked, but
That's right.
we're under what's called the first year funding. Because we didn't close until December 7th, and because the HAP contract did not begin until February 2nd of this year, we don't have PBRA funds coming in as subsidy. Residents still only pay 30% of their rent. And we get, I think it's somewhere between $690 and $750 per 1 bedroom on that. Well, HUD makes up the difference. Well, that PBRA money will not start to January 1, 2023. In this interim, HUD is using public housing funds that these 2 properties normally would have received to be the subsidy for the rent. And we are just about closing on those numbers. Those numbers, I have to do just some punching in, but HUD says, this is it. Put this number in here, put this number in here, and then get it. So we are continually receiving it. It's just getting it to the right funding level so that some of the checks that are signed are when I draw down the money from HUD that is first year funding for Century Terrace and Harborview, then it goes into the checkbook for the Housing Commission. It has to be brought out of the Housing Commission checkbook and put into CTHV's checkbook. And so we transfer those funds over. But the only way it can come down is through the public housing channel. I draw that down around the 3rd of every month, kind of thing.
And will that change once this conversion is done?
Yeah, at the end of this year, the last draw I will make of public housing funds to support that project will be the December 3rd draw.
And then, so the 41 vacant units in your CTRV you're not getting any funds for those, and neither
We
is.
are.
You are?
We are getting full funding
Oh, you are?
on all those.
And so that keeps, because I was wondering how the
Yeah.
private ownership would feel about not getting any money for those,
Oh.
but they're getting money.
It's my job as the management agent to be sure that all the funds that we require to operate are coming in. And they are coming in, and that's why I draw them down every month, and then Cindy immediately cuts a check over to CTHV. All the rents come in. I don't think we have any more people who are still writing it to the Housing Commission. I think it's all just being written now to CTHV. Those funds go in directly, with that. So, does that help?
Yeah,
Okay.
it does.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, it's kind of like on the side, I think that most people, including myself, who I felt like I understood stuff, did not realize that the Housing Commission is really only over scattered sites now.
Right.
And not over Century Terrace and Harbor View. I think that's been not clear to the general city membership.
Actually, our attorneys and consultants made a full presentation to the full city council in February of 2021 to explain how all this worked, took questions, and made themselves available at any time to answer any questions. So there was clear communication to the full city council, and you can see that it's still available on YouTube and on Manistee channel or whatever it's called. But yes, there was clear communication. By law, communication was made to the residents in writing, and we held resident meetings that were recorded. Well, no, we had 2 or 3 resident meetings that were in person. This was before COVID, and so we have records of those meetings. And then additional meetings after COVID hit, were made with residents and recorded on Zoom. So it was explained in those terms. It's a difficult and complicated, because I've still given you just sort of a simplified.
Yeah, I appreciated your letter that you sent all of us.
Yeah.
It was a better clarification than some of that 140-page document that we're reading.
Yeah,
So we normally get each month.
well, you weren't
Stack
on
up,
the commission when I wrote an executive director report in January that said, what's going to happen between now and the 15-year period.
I'd love to.
And I should send that to you, because it just now dawned on me you don't have
I
that.
didn't get that with all this love. You shared a lot of stuff, but I did not get that. But thank you, because I do get, now that I'm on the commission, a lot of people ask me a lot of questions, and I appreciate some clarification on some of it.
Yeah, I tried to bring that down so it was like a timeline. You could see what was happening when, and
That'd be great.
yeah, I'll get that to you.
Thank you.
Any more questions related to the write-off? I do want to state why we have,
You can expect your screen to be clouded with 150 pages every month in great and perhaps excruciatingly
It's in-
finite detail on the finances.
Right? That's okay.
I do want to speak about, there are 3 notes that says we're not under the actions taken, that we're not collecting. And first of all, 2 of them are deceased, and so of course there cannot be any collection given the residents that we serve. There isn't an estate to go towards. The move out of $16 occurred in that period between January 1 and February 1. Right? I got that right?
I think it was after we did the write-off at the December meeting
That's right.
and January 31st.
Okay, all right. So it occurred after we had already written off everyone who was in public housing that was going into the RAD conversion. And that was the one that had to be out. So, would it be helpful, before you vote on this, to explain what it means when it says sent to collections and recorded in EIV?
What number are we on? Mike?
Well, we're on this resolution, but in this column, it gives actions taken. And on the first one, it says sent to collections / recorded in EIV. We send all unpaid debt to the collection company here in town. I can't think of their name.
Great Lakes.
Great Lakes. We've got a good relationship with them, and they take care of collecting. What it means when it's recorded in EIV is HUD systems called Enterprise Income Verification System. It's a federal system that knows everybody's income. And we have to record that this first person moved out owing us $886. We are trying to collect it. We reported it to the EIV system, which means any agency receiving federal dollars to provide subsidized housing is required by law to check the EIV system to see if a new tenant applicant owes money to any public housing authority or any other Section 8 or USDA organization. They owe past rent, because then they have to pay that off or make payment arrangements before the new agency can accept them. So we've reported, and we even report the deceased, because the deceased have to be reported in EIV also, to verify that Social Security has them listed as deceased. But we do collection as best as we can, and then hopefully other agencies will see that they're flagged and make them turn to us to pay back before they move in. We have a couple that are quite high. We have one that is $6,016 and one that is $3,019. We had people during the pandemic and even afterwards, as the extension of no evict was made, who took the you don't have to pay rent. All of our people receive some type of governmental assistance. The regulation that came down from Congress and then through HUD was that if you have a steady income, you still have to pay rent. That means you can't become unemployed if you're on a pension. You can't become unemployed if you're receiving Social Security disability. You can't be unemployed if you're receiving Social Security retirement funds, railroad funds, all those things that are regular monthly dollars that come in from the feds. Some of them took that as, I don't have to pay. And so we've ended up with some large balances that we did have the right to evict, and we did try to evict, and you see we have one that was an eviction, but our local courts would not evict, even to not following federal law that the individual had steady income and could afford their rent. All of our families that were under an employment situation, we made great adjustments, sometimes on a weekly basis of their rental, so that they could afford their rent. And several of them were, slashed down to minimum rent or below. Minimum rent is $50, and some were even lower than that. So we wanted to keep everyone housed. But these were folks that should have paid during that time frame.
So basically, they were protected for the several years, and then they left, and we cannot collect.
Yeah.
So, are there any other discussions about the resolution? If not, may we have all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Clinton, you're up, I believe. Do you have a report for us?
Actually, everything we've talked about, you've exhausted the things I was going to bring up, on my reports. But might be a good opportunity if there are other questions the commissioners are thinking about or would like to know about. We could take some time, and I could try to help. If I don't have the immediate answer, get back to on. But
I did have a couple of things.
Sure.
I wanted to ask, in the letter that you sent on July 20th, which, I agree, it was a great synopsis of an outline. But you have Executive Director of the CMHC, Deputy Director, President. This is that organization, do we get those names? Are they
Uh,
published
it's-
anywhere?
Riverside Housing, Inc.
Okay.
is an instrumentality that was created by the Housing Commission. Once it was created and they approved its initial bylaws, it's now a private corporation. Corporation profit and nonprofit. Okay? Not under the control of anything other than its board of directors. The board of directors, by the bylaws, have to be, the president is the executive director, the deputy director is the secretary of that board of directors, the president and the vice president. Recently, the board expanded as permitted by the bylaws. They can amend their bylaws at any time for any reason, and they're not a public body, so they can hold meetings, whenever they want to. They expanded it to include a community member with any skills that we felt that we needed, that is a presidential appointment. So we felt with all the transitional issues we're having with the finances, we wanted someone on that Riverside Housing Board with financial skills that could help us, if we have questions or need to, ask more specific questions to our accounting firms and such. So I appointed Doug Parks as that because of his experience in banking and finances and his experience through the RAD, conversion. Because right now we're in the position of ensuring we get through these first couple of years and grow and become stronger for perpetuity for what we've done on the renovations at Century Terrace and Harborview.
So being a private profit organization, they don't have to share their names with us. That's what I'm asking.
I thought I published them in that letter. I thought I printed that letter for myself, and I didn't.
I didn't see there's no names in it, just Doug's.
Doug's name.
Oh, okay, well, I guess I made an assumption on that when it says the executive director.
It's you.
Yeah, it's always that position.
Just-
And I didn't know the outcome of who was going to be president and vice president. And so I just put in by the bylaws, this is a position
Okay.
that has to be filled on the board of directors and what position they fill.
All right.
So, yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
So this is a letter going forward. All right.
Yeah, and I wanted you to know because of the new expansion of that board, of adding Doug Parks, adding a treasurer position, because we added a community member, then we added a treasurer position. Then I appointed someone capable of fulfilling that for the board of directors. So that's what happened to bring that. And I thought it would be good, transparent information to tell you who is on that position.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The other thing that I had kind of been talking with you about too is some complaints and concerns for the community about bed bugs.
Yes.
You sent me a graph. I kind of understand it. I think that you're trying to show me, that there has been treatments, looks like reoccurring problems, but not as much in Harborview compared to Century
Yeah,
Terrace.
actually, I've made now, just so that, I'm sharing this with you all and stuff, but this is all under the management company of CTHV. So this is printed for.
And I understand that in the sense, but it's like, I guess I'm not gonna go directly to this group, so when these things come up from even the medical field and all kinds of areas, Yes.
And I think I emailed you, I haven't heard back yet from Kelly, I wanted to find out if, what she has heard, you know, about that.
Yep,
And I haven't heard back.
once in practice.
Thank you.
You want copies in there? Okay.
The Griffin people.
And again, it's not saying that this is some, I mean, it is an issue that is in the housing. However, and it has nothing to do with cleanliness, really. I mean,
It
it could
does.
be anybody.
It could, cleanliness and hoarding does,
It can be
Exacerbate.
in public transportation.
I know
It
that.
can be in a lot of places where you could carry it into a facility. So I
Mm-hmm. Yes.
just don't want people to feel like we just, it's anything negligent. It's, and I mean, Clinton, you've been fighting this for years.
Yeah, it's been
It's
costing
just
us
not an
lots of
easy
money.
thing, but it is all over our community in several places, not just here.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes as an employer, you have to get concerned about people coming in
Yeah.
your employment.
Well, we do have some things that I think are unique to Century Terrace. But let me say this, and then I want to kind of explain the materials I handed out. We do not have a bed bug problem at Harborview. We've only had one issue of bed bugs, and that's when an employee of ours got bed bugs from inspecting a unit at Century Terrace. And so that was the only case we've had over at Harborview. This first letter on top that has the Griffin logo on it, okay? Everyone who's going to get a treatment receives a letter from us about the treatment that's coming up, and this letter from Griffin on how they must prepare their unit for the chemical treatment. The chemical treatment is one of those new MNRA, those kind of things. Then the attached letter or documents they receive is this bed bug document, which is similar but smaller than the one that you had sent, Karen. Then they receive a copy of the housekeeping standards that they must maintain, and they receive a copy of the policy for bed bugs, okay? Now, if chemical treatment didn't work, then they get this next document, our cover letter, and then this next document is because they're going to get the heat treatment. And the heat treatment then comes with the same inserts that I just spoke about. So they all receive that every single time that we have to treat bed bugs in a unit, whether it's one time or multiple times. We had previously had only done heat treatments until the new MNRA treatments had come out, and they're statistically supposed to be a better treatment source and less expensive. It's what, 1,200 heat treatments?
Yeah, I think it was like 1,000 for a one-bedroom.
Okay, $1,000 for one bedroom if we have to do a heat treatment. So when things started to go kind of wacky, I created a spreadsheet very similar but not identical to this spreadsheet that we maintain binders on the treatment at Century Terrace and Harborview of all the treatments, materials we receive from Griffin. So when they send us their invoice and the report of what the chemical was put down and what was treated and so on, it's all in there. The record is not tenant-based, the record is unit-based. so we know all the activities that happen in a unit. So this is our current 2022 binder, but we have binders like this that go back to 2017 when we first started doing this. We have a contract with Griffin that provides Harborview and Century Terrace that 4 times a year, every single unit receives a basic, regular pest management control. So they go in and get sprayed. So every unit is getting it once every 3 months. And that just happens on regular course for us. When things started to get worse at Century Terrace, I worked with Griffin to determine a better way of managing it, and that's when the new chemical treatment was coming out. And what we did a year ago this coming August was we had dogs come through and they sniffed out every single unit and every single place in the common areas that had bed bugs. Those were treated with a double dose of higher dose of the MNRA treatment that was put down. After 30 days, those units were re-inspected to be sure there was no bed bugs. Once that was all cleared, then all units at Century Terrace, all common areas of Century Terrace were treated at the same time frame, all laid down to eradicate bed bugs. Well, I guess we didn't have a problem for about a month or so, and then they started cropping up, okay? So with this report, this big, long thing here, I had it done this way so that you could get a sense of how this plays out and how we track how it plays out. So HV, of course, stands for Harborview, CT, Century Terrace. And you can see that, look at HV 105 at the top. It has an X there because they received quarterly treatments in this quarterly time frame that is there. HUD required that if anyone declared that they were quarantining or had COVID, that we could not go in for anything, and so that one says COVID in that unit. And then you will see on the far, or the middle section is bed bug treatment. There's not any in there. And I failed to mention on the June 30th to July 19th, that yellow section is because there was treatment coming, which has already been done now. And also Unit 201 and 410, it says reasonable accommodation, no entry due to health issues. That means we couldn't spray. We have reasonable accommodation on that. That's no biggie at Harborview. I'm more concerned when we have that at Century Terrace, but it's no biggie, at Harborview. So, and then the far right column talks about where we had bed bug issues. And we had a vacant unit that ended up with bed bugs that we're not sure about how that happened, and then we had the employee unit that had to be treated. And that's just the time frame. All these bed bug time frames are January 21 through July 22. Then we go over to the next page, which is Century Terrace. The same thing applies on everything I just discussed with you, but then you can begin to see the type of treatment units have received for bed bugs and the total number of times that they've had this treatment in 2021, January to this July. And did we send the materials, and we have copies of the materials we send in the unit files, and is this the same resident? Now, you may see, like on unit 19, shows total of 1 chemical treatment And yes, it's the same resident. Well, how can it be the same resident if we only have one? And it goes back to, this is January 2021 through July 2022. So that means earlier in that time frame, and if we went back and dated all the way back to January into 2017, some of these units, you might have 5, 6, 7, or more of them being the same tenant in that unit, okay? Bed bugs fall under health and safety in the Michigan state law and are considered both private and public as a responsibility of the landlord to take care of. So we don't have much action that we can take. So you can get a sense of how often we've treated, what kind of treatment, and if it's the same resident, you know, in those units. We have had the experience of a resident at Century Terrace who did not inform us of bed bugs, and that happens a lot. They don't inform us until they're really bad, or a family member, or a caseworker, or somebody comes across them. And we keep on telling people, do not treat from over-the-counter stuff. It counteracts what we're laying down. We will take care of putting that stuff down. Well, this guy, after it had gotten really, really bad, we confirmed there were bed bugs, and our maintenance staff is trained by Griffin to confirm actual bed bugs. And then they came up to do the spraying, Griffin did. And the resident refused entry to Griffin. We had that all on videotape. They were recorded with our cell phones. And we took it to court, and the judge would not evict a unit, an individual in a unit who does have bed bugs, notified he had bed bugs, had bed bugs before they had notified us, had been told and informed that the treatment would happen because we have that right to do that, and then was refusing entry, and the judge would not evict.
Is that the person that's had 5 treatments, or no? That's
I'm not sure.
19? No.
I don't think so. I don't think it's 219. I think they were on 3rd or 4th floor. They were on 3rd floor.
Handicapped by that. And but what about like 219, for instance, that's had 5 treatments? I mean, like, can you start eviction on them? Because they're just obviously a very serious problem in the building.
It is. And I talked to our Griffin representative today, and we are looking at, I asked him to come up with a new plan, and I'm also going to be talking to some of my colleagues in public housing, some of whom were former public housing HUD leaders in DC who are running large public housing authorities here in Michigan, and find out what policies, because it is never the fault of the resident. So far as I understand, we can't bill them. That's Dale's paper on the microphone. But our representative told me of a housing commission, large housing commission in Michigan that actually has, if after you've been notified about scheduling and that they're coming and you refuse them coming in, you will receive the full billing.
That's what I wondered.
Yeah. Well, I need to get that all verified, because right now they have different judges.
Yeah.
And their judges are evicting people who are refusing to allow their unit to be treated. That's not the case here in Manistee County.
It's a hazard to all their neighbors because they travel.
Well, and it's a hazard to the entire community because they ride Dalibus, they go to Myers, they go to Family Fair, you know, they go to the Vogue. I mean, they go all over, you know, just like any person would.
Right.
And if they refuse treatment, who knows what they're carrying, you know, with them. But we can take it to the point of eviction, and if we can't get that judgment, then, you know, we can't take action. When I first came in 2005, we had several lease violations that were major problems that had to be taken care of. And after doing about 20 or 30 leases, then people realized the Housing Commission was under new leadership and they were serious about you need to follow the regulations on things. And people then started following the regulations. We only need to get probably half a dozen or less evictions on bed bug violators that are repeat before they understand that this is serious and you need to take this seriously. We are providing you with the treatment to get rid of it so that you aren't living in an uncomfortable situation. We want that to happen, but you need to not block it from happening. You need to take actions to...
And I would say, you know, it's those individuals that have the capacity and the ability to understand what they're blocking or what they're stopping from, you know, they have the ability to take care of themselves and have that ability. If they are an individual who may have an impairment, there are usually entities that can assist with that. But if you have somebody in your, you know, housing system that has an impairment that isn't in the system, yes, it can make it very hard, but, you know, they, like everybody else, have to understand they are putting everybody at risk.
And we do consistently try to reach out to
I know
our
you do.
organizations that are supporting the residents to say, can you get a crew over there to help them prep?
Yeah.
You know, we will give you, you know, some of that paper hazmat stuff and help you, you know, get bed bug checked before you leave the building and everything. And they do that. And we've had that, you know, happen. But then when we have people who are capable, like this resident was, of doing things and then refusing to let it happen, to come in, and that unit was massively infested, and it doesn't take much. Someone sit down on their couch and visit for a while. You know, they're hitchhikers, and they're going to.
And they're still in there.
Now, that one fortunately got mad at us and moved to a newer complex in town.
Well, that works. So you can,
So
I can't imagine.
still untreated.
I appreciate that, because this is something I will share, you know, the process and stuff, so that
Yeah.
we're all on the same page and that we're making a concerted effort, but.
And if, like, Central Wellness's caseworkers come across anything like that, they should call Luann at extension 104, right? She's 104. 104. I've delegated everything pest management to her since 2017. She's right on top of managing all this and being sure everything happens.
I think one of the, and again, we have some older citizens, and I think one of the things it's embarrassing too. That's what the older citizen was like. It's kind of embarrassing. I try to take care of it myself. You know, it's like.
Well, and we try to let everyone know that it doesn't need to be
Yeah.
an embarrassment.
Right.
It needs to be taken care of, and that's what we're doing.
We'll help.
But yeah, we will help, you know, take care of it. And, you know, we offer as much as we can assistance with those who don't have assistance, because there are people with no family, you know, and they are independent and they don't have needs of Central Wellness, or they don't have one of the other supportive systems that come in to do cleaning or their laundry, you know, to check on those things or help them out, you know, with it. But so there are some that need help individually to do this. We try the best as we can, and particularly to model it as it's a big deal, but it's not that big. Let us come in, and if we can get it taken care of. Now, however, because of all the dust and everything that's moving around over at Century Terrace, I asked our representative from Griffin to provide me by early next week a full cost analysis and a full plan to 100% eradicate.
Okay.
You know, the most expensive would be heat treat every single unit. But there's probably some other ways that we can get that, taken care of too. But,
Helps me a lot.
yeah,
That's good to know, because I have also had a lot of people bring it up to me, and I didn't know, it's great to know that you have a professional treatment program going on.
yeah.
Clinton, where in the schedule on 219 did the heat treatment occur? Is that the end, or is?
In Unit 219.
Probably may not know right off the top of your
Yeah,
head.
yeah, this I didn't have Luann drill, if I could, had her drill down more specifically on like when that happened.
Sure.
But I can tell you that any heat treatment, well, no, 219, that probably was, we have a 30-day guarantee after they lay down the chemical. And if we find bed bugs, they come back and they lay it down again. If there's bed bugs again, then we pay for the heat treatment to come in. But that doesn't guarantee that it all will be taken care of.
Walk away.
Because it could be, they could have just gotten on a bus and picked it up, and all you need is one to come home and start multiplying, and so, I really wish there was some way of, and we have tried lots of ways to engage residents over the years, to get them more engaged, to what they can do to protect themselves, from
Yeah.
bed bugs.
Yeah.
And, how to look for telltale signs. I mean, my wife and I'm a fanatic. We go on vacation. We go into a hotel.
Yeah.
All the sheets come off. Everything comes off. And I look at the mattresses and I flip them all around and I look for signs. And if there is any single sign of bed bugs, I go downstairs, I need a different room. And you need to treat that one for bed bugs. But, there's things that people can do besides waiting to the point of they have a whole bunch of markings from the bites and stuff. Just one bite, you're going to get a stain on the bed somewhere. So always open for suggestions on how to engage our residents more to make their home life more pleasant and pest-free. So.
Any other questions, anyone?
All right. And I need to thank, I designed this smaller spreadsheet, and I have to give a lot of thank you to Luann, who put together the information under the time frames I put it in and filled out this form and then prepared the packets that we send
Appreciate
to
it.
residents. So I thank her a lot for doing that.
Thank you.
So I don't have anything else to report then at this point.
Anybody?
I have a commissioner comment. I think since this is the first meeting of the new year, so to speak, perhaps it's time to just briefly go over the roles and responsibilities of commissioners. And this is, as pointed out in the handbook for commissioners, the third edition, which I think everybody has. Overseeing the local housing agency's operation. Number 2, ensuring fairness in the administration of housing policies in compliance with both the letter and spirit of ever-changing federal, state, and local laws and related housing regulations. Number 3, acting as an advocate for the housing agency, its residents, and programs, including making the case for local housing expenditures, arguing in favor of local housing programs and services, and bringing stakeholders together in a cooperative way that will improve the larger community. Is that a fairly complete?
Mm-hmm. It's short sentences, but it's a lot of work. Yeah.
Is that the narrow book, Jim?
Yep.
Pardon?
Is that the narrow book?
Yes, right.
You got a newer copy than I have. You got color on yours.
I thought I gave you. Well, I'll ask that question when he's done.
In addition, are there any federal, state, or local responsibilities of a resident commission that differ from a standard commissioner's position, i.e. ombudsman, to liaise with residents, or anything of that nature?
No. Resident commissioner bears the full and same responsibilities as any other commissioner.
Okay. I just thought I would make that, that point.
Is that, I've got my, is that uploaded on the laptop?
No, the,
I don't have that book.
okay. Who doesn't have a copy that's sitting here of, hold that book up so everyone can see the
I
color.
can't imagine it's changed in all.
It's updated with new regulations.
I'd like a new one.
So Dale needs one,
And I need one.
Karen.
I came in during COVID, so we never really got to sit down.
Yeah, and I think I may have given you an old one that's blue colored, if I did, but.
I only have the laptop, so I
Okay.
don't know if it was up on the laptop or not.
Jenny, you still have yours, right?
Yeah, you gave me the new one.
Okay, and so Jim, I will double check with Kelly, she has one. Once we unpack our office, the next few days, I have other copies in some box somewhere, and I'll be sure we get them to the two of you and stuff. It's a helpful thing.
It's great to read before you want to go to sleep.
Yes,
As an aid?
yes, definitely.
One comment, I have a friend who's the former executive director of the New York City Housing Commission. He's now the director of Yonkers. They use the same book. I can't imagine that's a job anybody would want.
Well, the interesting thing about HUD regulations is it's one size fits all.
One size.
So-
That's it.
New York City has the same regulations as we do.
Interesting.
And there's Elk Rapids has 28 public housing units. They have the same regulatory burden as New York City.
My son works in Roanoke, Virginia, in housing.
I have two friends who are directors of 3 housing commissions, one in the Dakotas and one in Oklahoma. So there's 3 boards to deal with. If no, the public left us,
Oh, goodness.
so there's no public comment. Could I have a motion
Well,
to
did
adjourn?
any other commissioners have anything? Yeah. I just wanted to say, I think this has been a very productive meeting, and I am thankful that our annual meeting is taken care
Done
of.
with.
Almost taken care of.
All right.
Good.
Move to adjourn?
Yes, motion to adjourn. All those in
So-
favor? Aye. Well, actually, you don't need to vote on it. I remembered what the thing I was told I couldn't abstain was, the city council thing. Something that would have benefited me personally, financially.
Oh.
And I was told
Okay,
by the mayor, who was a friend, that
okay,
I can't abstain.
all right.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like,
Well, you know, that would run against my principle.
yeah, I know conflicts of interest and stuff,
At
and
any rate.
financials. All right, well, another meeting, so, see y'all.
You got another one?
Oh, yeah,
No, let's see if Kelly wants.
Wow.
yeah.
I couldn't keep your schedule, Karen. Okay, things got out of order here.
$1 a member, okay.
Yeah.
$195,000 for the repair of the elevator, which was just one of the checks, okay. Yes. Oh, speaking
You might
of which,
see,
speaking of which,
I will hunt you down.
Speaking
You
of
know
which-
that, and you have your own pen.
Yeah, you go for it.
go for it. Yes, ma'am, I will.
Ginny, if you were curious, I mean, this is just sort of a normal run of checks.
Right?
You can see what
Yeah, he just,
we've paid here, and are paying. 3,
For my routine, I like this. Body capital. next one's consumer tax. These utility companies
Yeah, what,
don't match the bills.
can you not do online
Yeah.
payments? Or is that part of the regulations that it has? to be
Yeah,
checked?
it's gotta be,
Okay.
We're starting to do more under the private company of CTHV, but
we do it
Okay.
online.
our auditor, I have to get his permission to do online, and there's only some things, like our insurance provider will only accept online payments, because his result is no paper, no paper, no paper. I want paper.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I'm just gonna leave this stuff in my trunk, because I'll be back tomorrow, so we're moving in to, our office.
Both of these?
Yeah, both of those I'm
Okay,
gonna leave in my trunk.
Joanne was pretty insistent. And I get that, you know how she is.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, but they'll be back tomorrow, so. Let's see. Oops, I got it.